Hi everybody, how are you? Welcome to Mr. Yas Educational Show. Today we're going to talk about something that will interest you. Today's show is about a day in the life of someone. I would like to invite Mr. Kevin. Kevin, hello Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm doing
Salaam
fine.
alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Kevin is from
America,
yeah,
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay, can you tell us about your typical day? How did your day start? What did you do your day?
Where I used to work, I worked there for a long time, and my typical day, like most teachers in America, starts off a little slow and it builds as time goes on. It gets more intense. Let me use that word. It gets more intense with the students and the hustle and bustle of the things that we're supposed to do every day as educators. And one of the things that I found very challenging in my work environment when my faith is concerned was being able to find or block off the time that during the course of a busy day, being a high school teacher, to get my prayers in on time.
So it starts with the prayers.
Yeah,
Start with the day,
yeah,
prayer,
exactly.
okay, fantastic.
And so I would.
You ask help from Allah.
Yes, I do. I beg and pray and beg and pray, and because
That's because you have a hard work.
exactly, and
hard job, yeah.
and why it's so important is to me is because it helps me to try and focus. It gives me a barrier between the things that are going on around me that I don't want to be affected by, and helps me to gravitate towards the good things that I do want to be affected by. Prayers like that conduit, if you will.
So what time do you usually wake up?
Wake up. My normal day is from the States, and even here right now, it's been, praise be to Allah, around 4:30. You know,
Every day, even that on
this
weekday.
Even on the weekdays, I've conditioned myself, my body, to be able to get up between 4:30, sometimes as late as 4:45, so that I can.
So at the weekend you wake up at 4:30.
Even on the weekends,
Okay,
yeah.
that's good. Okay. So you don't change your daily life. Every day you wake up at 4:30.
Just about, that's right, yes. And I try not to go back to sleep until I've said my prayers. But every now and then, it overcomes me and I fade back to
Okay,
sleep.
so after the prayers, what do you do?
After I finish saying my prayers, I get ready for work. I'll eat some breakfast, and then I'll head on out to school. Carry out my regular duties in the morning, whether it's bus duty or hall duty or anything of that nature. And if I'm lucky and I wasn't assigned any duty, I'll tend to hang out in my classroom for a bit to get myself together.
Okay, so after you finish school, after you finish your work, you go home. What
Right.
do you usually do? You have lunch with your family member? Or?
Yes. And even at school, that's one of the that was one of the great things too about my colleagues. You know, being able to sit down and lunchtime was very important to us.
There's something that is wrong. We usually call the thing that you eat at work, so it's a breakfast time or the snack or something like that. But the main lunch is at home. When you
The
go
main
home.
lunch, and
Do you have your lunch at home or at school? Because it differs from the Westerners, from the people in the Middle East, the Arab countries.
when it comes to lunch, because of our work environment, we would have lunch at school. And because there's just no way to get together with family, because even though we have time to have lunch, usually the restrictions are so that, are such that you're not allowed to leave campus.
Yes, okay, I agree with you, but because this is our Arab culture,
Right.
that it's very important to have lunch with your family.
Right.
So we call it the lunchtime. That it's at home with your family. So when you get back from work, whatever the time it is, 3 p.m., 4
You
p.m.,
call
5
it
p.m.
lunchtime.
So it's a lunchtime for us. I know that you call it something else, right?
we call it dinner.
Or dinner.
Dinner, right? So the time for us when we would get together to eat, would be dinner time, and that would usually be in the late evening, sometime between 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at the latest. You know, in my house, it would sometimes run as late as that.
So after the dinner time, what do you usually do?
We would, after dinner, we would rest for a moment. If prayer is coming on, you know, if it's not time for Maghrib, we would talk. I would say debrief.
Okay, just a minute, please. I haven't mentioned that Mr. Keven is a Muslim, so he talks like a typical Muslim person. Okay, what does he usually do at the daily? So we have 5 prayers a day.
Right, and so we would debrief, and I would call that, or my wife and I would call that, we would sit down and we would talk with our children. No, we'd have to get to know what happened during your day, how was your day, you know, anything interesting happened, were there any difficulties, any problems, and we always would also participate and work with them on trying to get the homework done, because
So you usually do the homework with your kids?
yeah,
Or your
yes,
wife?
no, right? It's because there's so many children that we have.
Mashallah.
We would split up who we would work with, so to speak. So, you know, my wife and I, we would split the workload. And my area being science, usually anything, especially having to do with science, I would be involved with, and anything that had to do with ELA, writing, that sort of stuff.
Do you find difficulties in learning English? I'm kidding, yeah.
Sometimes,
you know that our students here, the most concern them that is English.
Right.
So English, they find English is very difficult. So what would you tell them? What advice?
One of the things that I would
if you advise them to learn English, how do they learn English?
To learn English, I would probably, it can become a bad habit if you're not careful, but watching TV, you know, movies and so forth are a great medium to start with, but, you know, movies and cartoons that aren't profane or anything of that nature,
not
clean,
translated,
profane, exactly. And if you
You
put
mean clean, that, okay, that means yes.
no
Polite,
profanity,
yeah.
polite, that sort of
Polite,
thing.
yes,
Because
okay.
when you can understand it in a format that's fun and you're relaxed, you tend to retain it better. It stays with you longer, so to speak.
And there is another strategy that helps them to learn English, that when they translate it, don't translate it from English to Arabic. Translate it from English to English.
Right.
That would be better for you to remember the words. Okay.
Exactly.
Yes, what
So
else?
another strategy was the bell just rang for class again.
You have a class now?
You can take it.
Okay.
You can have it.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to thank Mr. Keven because I know that he's very busy now. So we will complete later. I promise, inshallah. Inshallah.
It was great talking to you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Okay, see you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam, salam, salam.